And I was 14, went up there, and the bright lights, the big field, and just thought at that point, this is where I want to be.
Right. Hey everyone, welcome to My Final Play. I'm Brian. I'm here with former Penn State and professional baseball player Jeremy Deitrick. Jeremy, thanks for joining me.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to get into the sport of baseball,
Okay.
the impact it had on your life, and when did it all start?
Wow, probably T-ball when I was 5, and before that back, in the backyard
Right.
with, mom and dad throwing balls, and, just thinking it was so cool to hit it and watch it just fly in the air and just run around. So yeah, I was born to play.
Yeah. So when you started getting into it competitively, it was around the age of 14 playing Legion ball. What did that look like as far as the life and the schedule of playing ball?
Really, I remember making my first, all-star team, because back, when I played in Little League, there wasn't all these divisions of all-stars. You were 11 and 12, and
Yeah.
you made the 11 and 12 all-star team, and I remember doing 2 days.
Okay.
We went in the morning, we went in the afternoon, but because I loved playing, I loved it. And baseball's a sport such that repetition is what you really need to be good.
Yeah.
And just doing that every day, like, it really just perpetuated the love that I had for it, and just seeing myself get better. And then as I got a little older out of Little League into Senior League and then Legion ball, it was pitchers were throwing on the side all the time. You were taking lots of ground balls, lots of batting practice. I mean, you were out there 2-3 hours at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that I really enjoyed to do because I liked competing at the highest level, and being a younger player with older players, it really raised my awareness as to game situations, but also the competition and the competitiveness of it that I really, really thrived in, that I really like to try and prove myself as a younger player to these 17, 18-year-old, sometimes 19-year-old kids that, I can hang.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, I can play ball, so.
Yeah. So, I mean, from what age to what age up until the process of getting recruited into to Penn State, how much of that would you say was just a daily grind for the passion that you had?
Most definitely, every day. Especially at the high school level, I was a football player and a baseball player. And I would get the bus 6:30, 6:45 every morning at Curtin Middle School. And then back then they had a late bus.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking from August through the baseball season was over in May, possibly early June. I was getting that late bus home at 6:30 at night.
Yeah.
So 12-hour days, Monday through Friday. I was playing on the weekends. And I was in honors classes in high school, and getting my work done and all that. So, I mean, it really did prepare me for life in college, as far as being dedicated to your craft, your sport,
Right.
but also having to get the grades to be able to play.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't get the grades in high school, my mom and dad were like, "Look, you're not playing," So
Yeah.
education was paramount.
So, getting that experience then playing Legion ball, what did the process look like in getting to Penn State?
Legion ball was an unbelievable experience. When I was 14, we played in the state tournament. Our Legion team got out of our, I don't know if it was called districts, but we got out of our local area with Montoursville, Hughesville, and some couple other Legion teams around here. We played at Scranton, where was the Red Barons at that point. It is the Yankees now. It was the brand new field with the turf.
Yeah.
And I was 14, went up there, and the bright lights, the big field, and just thought at that point, this is where I want to be.
Right.
But then Legion, as I got older, to your question, and was getting ready to graduate high school, they had a Legion East-West All-Star game.
Okay.
Where the best kids from the state of Pennsylvania played against each other in an all-star game. In my last 2 years in Legion, and these tryouts, you would go through about 5 to 6 steps of tryouts. You go in, there'd be hundreds of kids, you put a number on your jersey,
Yeah.
and you'd run the 60, you'd throw from your positions, and then all the pitchers would throw, and
Right.
you'd have like a scrimmage. And I made the All East team 2 years in a row, never to the final game. But that really opened my eyes to how many good ball players there were,
Yeah.
even in the state of Pennsylvania, and made me realize that if this was something that I wanted to really pursue at the collegiate and then the professional level, I was going to have to really work on my own to hone my skills.
Yeah.
But it was something that I never thought was out of reach. And when I looked at these other players, I thought, hey, I'm just as good, if not better, than a lot of these guys. And I think to do some things in athletics like that, you have to have that mindset.
Right.
It's not a cocky mindset. It's not an area. It's just a, inner confidence. Like, because if you don't have that, and you go out, well, that guy throws really hard.
Right.
Or that guy runs really fast, or wow, the way that guy swings the bat and hits the ball. If you start thinking in those ways, you're not going to go out there and give it your best and produce, the best of your ability. So, it really made me focus on myself and how I could get better, whether it was hitting, throwing, catching, running balls down the outfield, whatever the case may be. And it was something that I felt very confident in that I could do if I put the time and work in.
Yeah, absolutely. So you ended up getting to Penn State from a Legion game then.
Basically, yes.
So that process as far as, getting letters from different universities, kind of walk us through that then.
Yeah, as I was young, I graduated high school when I was 17, so the fall of my senior year, I received my first letter from Mississippi State University, and of course, Rafael Palmeiro played there, and Will Clark played there, and Bobby Thigpen, played there. So I was pretty excited.
Right.
Was getting some things from Clemson University, Florida, Notre Dame, Virginia, Butler, a bunch of schools. And as things kind of wound down the end of my senior year, things didn't really materialize the way that I'd hoped that they would. And I had an option to go to Mansfield on a full scholarship. And right as that was kind of transpiring, I had a Legion tournament, as I was telling you, up at State College, and we were playing this really good team from Brooklyn, New York. Our Legion team that year with Pat Daniker and a bunch of guys on it was really good as well. We show up in the dugout. A former player of mine, one of those 18-year-old kids when I was 14 on the Legion ball team, Lance Rathmill was his name. He played 4 years at Kentucky Wesleyan, transferred to Penn State for his 5th year. And he was sitting in the dugout. And he's like, hey, Deitrick, where are you going to play ball? And I said, well, I have a full ride to Mansfield, but, I was getting some love from down south and stuff, but it didn't really kind of materialize. It's like, hold on. And like I told you, there was this telephone pole at the old Medler Field there, and there was a phone box on it with a phone in it. Lance goes over and calls up the pitching coach, Randy Ford, and Randy comes and watches me play. It's a hot day. It's like we've had here recently, like 100 degrees, 90% humidity, just miserable. I had 4 hits off some really good pitching. Threw 2 guys out. I was catching. Threw 2 guys out trying to steal, and they offered me, basically a preferred walk-on spot at Penn State, and I set up a visit with the coach. I think a week later, my dad and I left, and I said I want to play Division I ball, and that was my dream. That was my goal, and that's what we did.
Yeah. Shortly after that, then you earned the scholarship, so you finished out your collegiate career there, and then kind of walk us through then playing at that next level. What did that look like?
Playing. I was, fortunate enough to do some good things at Penn State. We won a Big Ten regular season championship my sophomore year, and I was really struggling at the beginning of that year, which was my sophomore year. I believe I remember my dad saying, when he watches, he's going to laugh. We were going out to California for spring break, and we always had a really big spring break trip where we would go. We went to California. That year we went to Texas. We went to Florida. We went to Alabama. This year we went to California. We played Stanford. We had A.J. Hinch and Kyle Peterson and Chad Hutchinson.
Oh, man.
And they had, we played UCLA. We played Cal. And we got our butts wiped. I was 0 for my first 28. My dad, before he left, don't go for California, he said. I was 0 for 28. My first 28, I had 14 punch outs, and I was really doubting. You know, I was swinging at everything, just wasn't seeing the ball well. Was really you know, pushing. And in baseball, you can't push. You just have to let the game come to you. And I just remember putting in work with this young hitting coach. We did these simple little drills every day, and before the end of the season, like, I couldn't get out.
Yeah.
I ended up hitting like 270. We crushed Ohio State in a doubleheader. I hit like 2 home runs, and we ended up winning the Big Ten title. And it was awesome. And that really propelled me through the rest of my collegiate career at that level, as far as how tough the game of baseball can be mentally.
Right.
Because it is. You fail 70% of the time,
Yeah.
and you're considered to be great.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to Cooperstown, and it's not something that daily life really teaches you. You can fail this many times and still be good. That's not what you're taught.
Right.
So baseball's pretty counterintuitive, I guess, in that way. And those struggles propelled me to professional ball, where when you get there, you see that there is talent everywhere.
Right.
Baseball is a worldwide game, and the Hispanic influence, the Latino influence in the game of baseball, with how many good players come from Venezuela, Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, now Cuba. And when I was with the Phillies organization, they were drafting guys from Japan.
Oh, wow.
And played with a couple pitchers and a position player, and just seeing, you know, their work ethic, and knowing, you know, how much they have sacrificed and where they're at,
Right.
how far away from home, and this, that, the other, like, it made you appreciate where you were, but it also made you appreciate the work you had to put in. It was not, baseball's not an easy game. And it really just kind of helped me understand what I had to put forth, you know, work-wise, you know, to be the player I wanted to be.
Yeah. So as far as the time that you spent in the Major League organization, you know, we talked off camera about 2 different kind of last plays.
Right.
Walk us through that last year then in spring training and kind of what that looked like for us.
Okay. It was 2002 spring. I had made my way through all the single-A affiliates that the Phillies had. And in 2001, I had finished up my season at high A ball in Clearwater, Florida, for the Clearwater Tides. I had a really good first half of the year, but there was a lot of injuries on our team. I even got some ABs as a left fielder, because we were that down with players. As those players filtered back, you know, in the minor leagues, the organization has an idea of what guys they want to play where, and this, that, the other, and just so happened that year, like 4 or 5 guys went down after spring training, didn't play at all the first half of that 2001 season. They wanted them to get so many at-bats in the second half, and me being the backup catcher was kind of the odd man out. So I didn't finish the second half of that season as well as I would have liked to. I was really pushing at the plate and stuff, and as we talked, you can't do that in this game. You gotta let it come to you.
Yeah.
It's just too hard to play that way. And it was putting a lot of pressure on myself, as most people would, to try and, you know, achieve their goals and their dreams and all that. So came back 2002 season, really focused, had a great spring training. Things were kind of filtering down as guys were coming from big league camp down to minor league camp. And I was kind of, you know, seeing where I might be, hoping I was going to go to Reading, because that had been my natural progression, which was AA for the Phillies, still is AA for the Phillies. But kind of hearing some things that they might want to keep me in Clearwater and back up Carlos Ruiz, who went on to play for the Phillies for, you know, 8-9 years, whatever, won a World Series title with them in 09, or 08, I'm sorry. And I was frustrated with that. And I talked to some coaches who were going to coach at Clearwater that year. The head coach was my hitting coach in Clearwater the year before. He was going to be the manager in 2002. And we had a discussion about 7 a.m. one morning. I was heading to the weight room. And he said, look, Deitrick, I'd like to tell you that you're going to be my guy here. You're going to play 6 days a week, and you're going to get 600 at-bats, and you're going to do this and that. Mm-hmm. It's not what the organization wants. They want, Carlos to be the starter. They want you to be his backup. And, as I was telling you, being a guy who had worked real hard and was always one of the better players on his teams, right, and someone that was always looked to as a leader and someone to get the job done, that was hard to swallow. Mm-hmm. After I'd already kind of beat out a third-round guy from Miami who was signed for like over $500,000, I kind of beat him out. And then they wanted me. Here was another roadblock, and that being 25 years old and impatient as I can be, and as I definitely was then, I asked for my release. Mm-hmm. And the organization really didn't want to grant it to me. They said, hey, why don't you think about this? Right. I went home for a day in the hotel, like I told you, and I came back. We had another frank discussion, and they said, all right. We went to play the Devil Rays that day in spring training. It was one of our last spring training games, Double-A team. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there, I'm just catching the bullpen, like the whole game. Like in spring training, catchers go 4 innings and 5, and they kind of alternate. Right. So I was just getting all the pitchers ready in the pen to go into the game, and it came to the 9th inning, and I hadn't played. And Greg Legg was our manager, who has managed here in Williamsport before. I was like, hey, Legger, man, I haven't, need an AB, man, what's going on? And he kind of played stupid, and I was like, okay. So he said, hey, Deitrick's going to bat here. He's going to bat third this inning, in the 9th inning. And as I was telling you, the inning before, the Rays brought in their Double-A closer, and he was throwing really hard. Yeah. And one of the Phillies' top prospects at that time, Jorge Padilla, an outfielder, pads we called him, he could mash a fastball. Yeah. And this guy blew pads his doors in. And I'm thinking, all right, great, I'm getting AB last game of spring training on this guy. So the first 2 guys ahead of me, they went down. They went down swinging, looking bad. And I got up there and, kind of, strapped the gloves on, got the helmet on the head, and thinking, hey, I'm going to look for a fastball, first pitch. He throws it, I'm ready for it, and it ran in on me, like out of nowhere, just darted in. Raised my hands, ball. So I can see why they were looking, as bad as they were looking up here. Yeah. So same thing, dig in 1-0, looking for a fastball. He throws it, it's coming to the plate, I'm getting ready to go after it, and it just cuts. Outside, not inside. There was no die, I didn't see any. It was, as far as I knew, it looked like a 4-seam fastball. Cut away. So then the 2-0 pitch, the same mindset. And like I told you, I just felt my hands go right past my belt buckle. My feet turned in the box. I looked up in the ball. I got it. Yeah. I got it. Went over the buses out in left field. And from the situation that I, was explaining about being a backup, a lot of my teammates came out to home plate. Like I just hit this walk off, and it wasn't. Yeah. I think we were losing 4-2 after that. But they knew what I had gone through and what I was really kind of contemplating. I had played with them for 3 or 4 years, and in the minor leagues, that's your family. You're every day in the bus, every day in the locker room, everything. And kind of congratulating me, and the AAA team had finished their game early, so guys like Johnny Estrada and Jason Michaels and Marlon Bird and all those guys, they were all hyped for me, and yeah. It was a really cool feeling, got on the bus and all those guys were on there. They're all, grabbing me, high-fiving me, smacking me up, mauling me and stuff. And in that 20-minute ride back to the Clearwater, the minor league facility, I was like, hey, my mind's made up. And then I got back and saw the rosters that were put up, because we were breaking camp the next day. Mm-hmm. The rosters that were put up, and I saw a name on the Clearwater roster. I had reserved myself the fact I'm going to go Clearwater again. Right. I'm going to grind the season out behind Ruiz, and I'm going to prove to them that if this is what they want me to do, I'm going to be the best backup, right. Whatever, you know what I mean? Saw another name from the Indians organization I played against for a few years, a first-round kid who never really materialized within the Indians organization. Mm-hmm. He was given over $1 million when he signed, and I kind of knew that aspect of the business at this point. Right. This was my 5th season. Yeah. I was invited to Major League Camp as a non-roster invitee in 2000 with Schilling and Rowland and those guys. I kind of knew how it worked, and I was like, man, my playing time was already going to be kind of,
Right.
you know what I mean, short as it was. And now with this guy being signed, it just didn't look good. And I knew I was good enough and I wanted to play, so then I did ask for my release. And they gave it to me, but they said, hey, we'd like you to go play in the Atlantic League, which was independent ball.
Right.
Had just really kind of come on in '98 with like guys like Jose Canseco and Ricky Henderson trying to prolong their career. So I knew I'd known that, and so that's, you know, where I kind of transitioned my dream to, was to try to go that route.
Yeah. So I mean, after that season, you ended up that you did take a little bit of time off, but then 2007 went back in and kind of went to the independent league. Explain to us then your final play in that league.
My final play in that league, I just remember wanting to. I did go after. I asked for my release. I did play 2 years in that league. And then, as I was telling you, I hurt my hamstrings in the same year, and I just wasn't the same player. The love for it and the drive for it wasn't there. I met my wife, and we were expecting, you know, our first child, our daughter Matea, who will be 16 here in October, and I just kind of felt like, you know, I'd done this long enough for myself. I kind of got as far as I felt like maybe I was supposed to get, in a way. So kind of shifted, you know, my focus towards my family and, you know, providing, you know, a life for them. But through that time, I had never really inside resolved, you know, that inner desire to do it, you know what I mean? That closure, like you said. And 4 years later, I hadn't played. 4 years later, I was 30 years old. I went and had an opportunity to try out for the Lancaster Barnstormers, who was in the same Atlantic League that I had left 4 years prior. I made the team. Was kind of unexpected by a lot of the people there. Not myself, but a lot of the people there. Like, hey, where'd you come from? I was like, I was on my couch, you know, just like working out, like hitting balls off a tee and stuff. Did pretty well. Held my own. Definitely held my own. And I remember one specific at bat, which I guess I kind of really resonates with me. We had a runner on second. I believe it was the fifth or second inning, and they brought in, I can't remember the team. It could have been the team from Atlantic City. I'm not sure. But they brought in a reliever who was throwing like 95, 96 miles an hour.
Oh, wow.
And that, for whatever reason, that game that night, like the stands, like it was packed, and there was a lot of energy in the stadium that night.
Yeah.
And I was just up there, just had this certain, I don't know, I guess energy about myself with the at bat, and I fouled off like 3 or 4 fastballs.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. And I was like, man, I'm hanging with this, you know? And he let one over the middle of the plate. I smashed it up the middle for a base hit, scored the run. And, you know, like I said, the crowd was just going crazy. And it was kind of that closure, like, you know what? You were a good ball player.
Yeah. Like,
all the work and time and effort, like, you put into it, like, it wasn't in vain. You definitely accomplished a lot of the things that you wanted to accomplish. You know, most people can't say they've done any of this stuff.
Right.
You know, and as I've gotten older, I've really been able to reflect on that and appreciate it. And at that point, my daughter was 4, and my wife, she was pregnant with our son, who's 11 now. She was 4 or 5 months pregnant. And, you know, I was really missing them, and just felt complete. Like, just that kind of, like, to be able to show that against a pitcher who was throwing like that and stuff. I remember, you know, that was kind of like the closure that I needed. Like, yeah, you know, maybe a different circumstance, things might have worked out a little bit different for me, and maybe I could have, you know, played the big league level for a year, 2, 5, 10, whatever. But I didn't have any regrets at that point.
Yeah.
And I remember going to my locker after the game and getting kind of emotional about it. You know, sitting there in my locker and just kind of thinking, because I was missing them, but I was also like, you know, you kind of did it, dude. You know, you kind of went back on your own out of nowhere and kind of proved to yourself,
right?
Which really what it's all about.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember like walking into the manager's office and talking to him and telling him my thoughts. Like, well, listen, he was like, we appreciate everything you've done. Whatever you decide, I remember going home and writing a pretty heartfelt letter to the organization, to the guys who had really helped me there, the pitching coach and the manager. And I think a day or two later, I retired, and have never really looked back.
Yeah.
Never had any regrets.
Yeah.
So
kind of walked out on your own, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
What would you say then would be what do you think is the reason that those memories are so vividly cemented into your mind? Like, what do you think the emotion that plays into that?
I know, and my mom can attest this. When I was in kindergarten, I made her a little thing and said, when I get older, I'm gonna be a professional baseball player.
Yeah.
And all those things come back, and then you think about all the hits, all the plays, all the wins. When I got to Penn State, the personal trainers, and having a night class, leaving rec hall, and having to sit down 3 or 4 times, and my legs were just shaking. Getting up early, down in spring training with the Phillies, and walking to the facility as a minor leaguer, because you didn't, most guys didn't have vehicles, and it was about a 20-minute walk, but walking there at 5 a.m. in the dark.
Right. To
get in when the locker room was first opened, to get in the cage, get a couple hundred extra swings, to get, in the weight room and get some work in. It made it all worth it. And you realize that you wouldn't have gotten there without those sacrifices, without that grinding, without the older kids when you were 14 and they were 18 telling you to take your diaper off because they want you to back pick a kid at second base and you're 127 feet away. If I throw this in the center field, they're going to kill me. But they're there yelling at me, telling me to not quit being such a wuss and just throw the ball. You can really reflect and enjoy all those memories because it did propel you to something that most people don't get a chance to do.
Right, absolutely. So what would you think then would be the number one thing that the sport of baseball taught you throughout your life?
Number one thing, probably perseverance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just like in life, anyone can attest to, everyone's had ups and downs in their life, things don't always go the way that you want them to go. But as long as you have that that vision and that end goal, whatever that is, and you keep pounding and pursuing that every day, no matter if someone tells you can't do it, or you're from Williamsport, you went to Penn State, you don't have this type of degree, you haven't done this, if you just want to okay, yep, you're right, and just keep your head down and be quiet about it and be humble and persevere and work hard, there's really nothing you can't accomplish.
Absolutely. I definitely appreciate you spending the time here and sharing your story. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. If you did, please like and subscribe. And remember, whatever it is that you do today, approach it with the mindset of, is this my final play? Thanks again.